Rock us out. Yes. Oh, man. I got to get that title again, Jordan, because that's just too funny. I got to make fun of it real good. Hello, guys.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Oh, I better put this in my ear, huh? Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Hi, Helen.
Hi, Geraldine.
Okay. All right. So I have to write down people's titles and such. Oh. See what's going on. Oh, make sure I silence my cell phones. And boom. Because you know my phone will try to ring. So I have the great Dr. Jackie Wilson.
Not great.
What did he say?
Say it again, honey.
Not great.
Not great. Okay, we're going to need that mic turned up a little bit. Testing.
You just need to talk down.
Jordan Butler. Am I hearing an echo? No. Okay. I need to turn mine. All right. Testing. How about you, Jordan? Let me hear you.
Are you left-handed?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Uh-huh.
I did not know that about you.
Now it makes sense, right?
I'm left-handed too.
I'm at the back of the book.
Yeah, I'm weird actually. I do like sports left-handed and everything else right-handed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well,
I kind of do a little bit of whatever.
that's what happens when you go and you're in elementary school in the early 80s. They force you to be right-handed. So.
That's true.
Flagler County Youth Center and George Washington Carver Community Center. Yeah.
Carver. Helen McWilliams.
Yes, ma'am.
I got you. Okay. Can you know what you can do though? It'll be a little lagging, but if you go on you can't go on Facebook. Yes, you can. You can go on Facebook. You might be able. Oh, you just working with one device. I got to make fun of you real quick. She's got an old cell phone, guys.
I'm not trying to get a new cell phone
I know.
either.
That's what I love about it. That's what I love about her. She ain't even trying to get a new cell phone. She ain't keeping up with the Joneses. She don't care about that.
Nope.
I wish I had an old flip phone.
Oh, yeah, I know.
My life would be so much easier.
Especially now with all these, everybody think these smartphones are so smart. We're the dumb ones for carrying them because they listen to everything that we're doing and all that. We need one of these crazy stupid phones.
You are correct. We can't even take the battery out of these phones.
That's because you'll find the listening bug if you do.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I am a conspiracy theorist. Just understand that first and foremost.
We're going to have to do another show with her about her little conspiracy theories and stuff. All right, the Wilsons. Let me hear you guys.
Hello.
Oh, you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure I can hear you. Oh, my phone is reminding me I have my radio show. That's so kind. All right, guys. We're going to go in. Of course, we're talking about race relations this morning. I might put my glasses on. Not that I'm getting old or anything. Crystal, you wear glasses. You always have the cute ones. You're the little diva.
DennyOptical.com.
Oh, make sure you text me that so I can get hooked up. Because if I got to wear them, they're going to have to match all my clothes. Okay. You ready?
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Geraldine Denny.
Good morning, wake up, and good morning. And guess what? I am still black. It is Black History Month, and I'm blacking it, black this month. That's right. You heard me say it. I'm trying to get my black discounts. I'm trying to get anything I can get. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm serious. Let me tell you a story. Now, every month, I'm always trying to get the best deal. Doesn't matter if I go to a restaurant, department store. It does not matter to me. I got my good friend Crystal online. She will tell you the truth. I'm trying to get the best deal. But during the month of February, I walk in with this serious face when it's time to pay my bill, and I go, "Can I get that black man's discount?" And they look at me like they missed. If they're white, they look at me like they've missed something. Seriously, they're looking at me like they don't want to tell me that there isn't one because they think I might go off, which is a stereotype. That's a stereotype. Just want to say.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how to answer my questions, but more times than not, they're usually pretty nice and kind and say, "Man, we don't offer that discount at this time." Thankfully, I don't go off. No, I'm just joking. But often I get the discount. Y'all should try it. If you're white, walk in and tell me you want the Black History discount. See what happens. You never know. But all these chuckles and things you hear, I have Jordan Butler. He's the director of Flagler County Youth Center and the George Washington Carver Community Center.
It's a mouthful.
It's a mouthful. I'm telling you, you think he was pastoring a black church the way we have those names running.
It doesn't fit on a business card either.
It does not. You get a two-sided business card, Jordan. That's what you do. That's what you do. I also have Minister Jackie Wilson. He's in the house. And then gospel artist, Minister Crystal Wilson, which, by the way, I must point out, these two right here are sponsors of my radio show. Let's give them a hand. We bless the Lord and thank God for them. They do. They're my secret sponsors, like my secret Santa. They are my secret sponsors.
I need some of those.
They do. They sponsor our radio show for that, which I'm grateful because I wouldn't be able to stay on the air if it wasn't for them. And also on the phone line, you thought I forgot about you, Helen. We have Helen McWilliams, which she don't have any of these long titles, but let me tell you something about Helen. Her title is she is faithful, she is honest, she is trustworthy. Man, I sound like she is good, she is kind. Let me not even get into that black movie right now. But she is amazing. We're not going to talk about her. She's also a conspiracy theorist, but we're not going to talk about that. That's a whole nother show. But those who have been following me and listening to me this month, I'm talking about race relations. So on this show, I have people of different colors and ethnicity. Jordan, I gotta ask you first, because this show came about. It's Black History Month. I always like talking about Black history stuff, but talking about race relations. Last week, I had Dr. Elijah Emmanuel on my show, and you and him had an interesting conversation, and then you called me up and said, "Pastor Jay, I think this is a great idea." So tell me about how that come about.
So, being the director of the George Washington Carver Center, as you know, that is the last standing structure of the last segregated high school. And I have had a lot of conversations about race with Pastor Eli, and we just had really good, candid conversations where we're both able to just be very open with each other. We built that type of relationship with each other where we can be open about how we see it. And he just made the comment, and he was like, "I'm glad we can have these conversations. The world would be better if we could have these types of open conversations." And I said, "You know what? You're right."
So you just have a conversation about he has a different skin color than you, the challenges and
yeah, I mean, just all the different experiences because of that one fact, because of skin color.
Well, I'm going to ask you because I believe this to be true. Prior to working, Mark, hold on. Prior to working at the George Washington Carver Community Center, I might have those who are not watching. I got to point out that Jordan, you are not my skin color. You're a little bit lighter than I am.
Just a little bit.
Quite a bit. You would be considered a white man.
I get tan in the summers.
Okay, so you would be considered a white man. But would you say your experiences and your new work environment at the George Washington Carver Community Center have given you a different perspective when it comes to,
Absolutely. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Ohio where, we might have
had,
OH, and we might have had two black people in our town. And so it was never talked about. And it was almost like plausible deniability because if you never saw it, then you didn't know it was happening. And then when I moved to Florida when I was in college, it was just eye-opening for me, and just seeing how it impacted people, in real life because I didn't see it growing up. Even working at FPC when I was a baseball coach and a teacher there, you would hear the history, you would hear the stories of Flagler County, but it wasn't until I started working at the George Washington Carver Center that I was actually able to experience it really through kids. You know, and
So
that's
when you say
really,
experience what exactly?
So I can tell you, we've started a program down there called Light, which is it's a leadership program for youth, and we had a group of kids down there, and I was standing with Dr. Johnson, who is a black man who is also one of our executive directors for the school district, like one of the top 5 in charge people of the school district, and he's a black man, and he's standing there with me, and the kids asked, "Who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm Dr. Johnson." And then they said, "Well, who are you?" I said, "I'm Mr. Butler." John Finelli walks up, and they say, "Oh, he must be the boss."
Oh, wow.
And, you know, and Dr. J, look, he said, "Why can't the black man be the boss?"
That's right.
And they were candid. They said, you know, because we don't see black men like you where we come from. And, you know, he's dressed in a suit and a tie, and I mean, he's a good looking guy. I have a wife, just you know,
just so you know, to keep it straight. Appreciate that.
But he's a good looking guy, and they were like, "We don't see black men like you, you know, like at school, we don't see black men that are dressed nice like you, and we only see white men that are in charge." And, you know, so just seeing that and having those conversations with those kids it's been awesome. It's been eye opening, you know?
So what do you hope to get out of these conversations? What's your aim?
I mean, I just want people to accept each other for humans. That's it. You know, we're all humans. We're all the same people, and skin color should have nothing to do with it. And I wish that we would have a colorblind society. You know, I think everybody wishes that, but at the same time, I think it just starts with your own neighborhood, your own community. And I'm just hoping that the people listening out there that are in this community can, you know, start to open their eyes to what's really happening and help be part of the problem, or part of the solution and not part of the problem.
Dr. Wilson, I've got to ask you, because you're a black man. And you hear these conversations, and I know it makes you feel good and those sound good, but that's not necessarily your reality, is it? You've been judged by not the content of your character, but definitely by the color of your skin. So what say you this morning? How do we get past that? Is it the interaction that Jordan is talking about that we need? I mean, you've worked in the prison system. You're a military veteran, and you've been all over the world. What is it that we need other than love and Jesus? Because we definitely need love and Jesus.
I think, like you said, I think the church should be foremost a platform. This start discussion definitely going on. You know, men of black and black men suit. I say if you white person go on the suit that I have on, and go to any store, any place over the country, and you really not by the words, but by the individual action on the store or in the store. You could just walk around that store, just looking nice or something, and they're already have one opinion on you, just by the color of your skin. Not the content of your heart, your character, just by the color of your skin. I mean, that can be there. When a pair of shorts, immediately segregated and that's poor, won't have more, and looking for the deal.
Helen, you have quite a story and perspective. You've been riding in the car. You have what people typically like to coin the phrase, quote unquote, black friends, right?
I have lots of black friends, but I don't, quote unquote, use them in the same context as maybe others use them.
Come on, say that.
I invite people to my house.
Yes.
That's true. I've been to her house,
Okay.
I must say.
I invite people to my house. So my thing is, if you're in my pack, if you're in my inner circle, then I don't care what color you are. I don't care what anything you are. You're in my inner circle, and I love you. So you're invited into my house is my safe haven. Anybody in my circle that's invited into my house is in my safe haven.
Yeah.
Color doesn't matter to me, but I grew up differently than a lot of people. You know, I was the minority in my neighborhood. So for me, it was, I was even the minority in my school up until I went and moved to New Jersey with my dad. But our friends were our friends. Like, people say that they don't see skin color, but let's be for real. People see differences, okay? And it can be within the same skin color. You notice if somebody's wearing glasses and you're not. You notice if somebody is fat and you're not. You notice if somebody has tattoos and you don't. So you know, we need to look at these differences and sometimes celebrate these differences, because these differences can bring different perspectives, and it can open up to gifts that you may not necessarily possess. But if your friends do, then you always want your tribe and your pack to be stronger. You should always uplift those who have special gifts that you don't, because everybody has something that you don't have, and we can learn from everybody else.
All right. Well, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the big Crystal Wilson, big personality. I love her. It's going to be great. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You are listening to Today with Pastor Jay. All right, we're going to go back in. And Crystal, when we come back, we're going to you, because you have a huge array of friends.
Well, I want to touch on things that folks say.
Absolutely. We'll come back and I'll do a what say you, and I won't ask you a question and you can chime in. How's that?
It sounds wonderful.
Okay. All right. You ready? Welcome back. Welcome back. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay, and I tell you, we're talking about race relations and how important it is just to have the discussion. May not like it, may be uncomfortable, but we need to have the discussion. So, Crystal, my sister, my friend, what say you? They said a lot of stuff. What you think? As a black woman, what do you think?
First and foremost, as the gentleman had said earlier, he wishes people could be colorblind. I don't want anybody to be colorblind. To be colorblind is to say that we don't appreciate what God created. God did this, not us. That's one. Two, I appreciate all the colors. You know, we try to divide with black and white, but there's a spectrum of colors in between those two colors. You know, honestly, I went to the paint store to find out what color it was, and I found out that I'm called baked pumpernickel.
You're baked pumpernickel?
Yeah, I'm baked.
You gonna have me go to the color store?
Y'all go. I suggest y'all go to the paint store.
We all should go to the paint store. Jordan, I want you to come back and report to me what color you are when you go to the paint store.
Probably eggshell.
Eggshell? No. I think you got a little bit more pink than eggshell in there.
I don't know. I guess it depends on what time of year.
Baked pumpernickel. Everybody go to the paint store. Go ahead, Chris. So what's your finish your thought?
The other thing I wanted to cover was, you know, I like what the lady had said about how her she had a tribe. You know, people in her circle, her tribe. And I always said this: if you've never invited me to your house, that tells you what category you already put me in. Because I know me here.
Mm-hmm.
Our house is open. You know, that's how God created us, made us. You have to really do something to get that vote. And then
Look, your husband did this. Like, yeah, I know about those things.
And before I even put you out, we're going to have a conversation first.
Oh, I can see that.
But about us as a race, if we can just learn how to come together with our differences, as ladies, I'm reiterate, that black woman come together, have conversations about our differences, pros and cons. Because I have Asian friends who will tell me straight out about it, you know. They like this president, and they love Trump, but we still friends. Why? Because we have that different conversation. And listen, I'm not talking about talking heard. I'm talking about actually listening to understand what that other party is talking about.
All right. So last week, after I had a conversation with Jordan on the phone, I saw something on my Facebook page. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it or not, but I'm going to read it to you. One of my Facebook friends, and he listens to my show, which I'm going to tell you, I adore him. I do. I think he's a super nice guy. We'll talk about him later. I won't even mention his name, but he posted something on Facebook, and I don't know if it was out of just stress, anger, or he was just exhausted. I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses for him, but this is what he said, because I found out a lot of white people feel this way. And it says, for sale, I'm selling my white privilege card. Mark, did you read this on my Facebook? Oh, it's going to be crazy. I'm selling my white privilege card. It's over 50 years old, but it's in mint condition. It has never been used, not even one time. Reason for selling is that it hasn't done a D thing for me. no free college, no free food, no free housing, no free anything. I actually had to work every day of my life while paying a buttload of taxes to carry those who choose not to work. If you're interested, I prefer cash, but be willing to do an even trade for a race card, which seems much more widely accepted and comes with countless benefits if you fit the profile. Interested? Contact me on my non-Obama cell phone that I pay for every month. So I saw that and I posted it. I cropped it out, took his name out and everything. And I said, one of my Facebook friends thought he could sell his white privilege. And the first thing I said, only the privilege would think it would sell. Really, let's be real, you know? And I said, I didn't want him to have trolls, so I edited his name. And I said, look at me being considerate. I didn't even use my race card. So as I go on and I talk about it, I said, listen, call me, let's chat. There's a black guy your age that worked hard like you, paid his taxes, didn't get anything free either. You know, he has a non-Obama phone. I said, he didn't have anything free. I said, oh, wait, yes, he did. He got profiled in every store as a potential thief, grew up with the talk about how to drive while black, and was possibly passed up for a job because his name was Deshante or Daquan instead of David. That's the reality. When people say, oh, white privilege don't exist.
Yes, it does.
It exists. So, Jordan, let's talk. It exists.
Well, and I think, you know, that's really what I'm getting at when I say like a colorblind society is that there is no white privilege. There is no racism. People that say racism doesn't exist, throw this fact in their face. 13% of the population makes up 65% of our prison population.
Come on. There it is.
I mean, if you want to know if racism exists, it's right there. And that's what I think that's what happens is, you know, in our society, it's because, like you said, if I'm looking at a job application, they're going to look at the name and they're going to say, oh, Daquan, I'm just going to throw that aside. They're not even going to look at it. And that's white privilege. And I don't think people, you know, truly understand that. And I think that a lot of people just don't know. And, you know, really, I think that's kind of the point of the conversations and having a platform to get these conversations out there is so that people know that really is happening.
I spoke with one of our elected officials roughly 4 years ago. Surprisingly, this is what his comment, because we were walking through all the schools and I was at FPC and I was asking what their percentages were, how many African-American teachers they had versus how many white teachers they had, how many, you know, how many African-American students they had, you know, those type thing. And he was following me. He wasn't following me. We were going to different schools and I was asking the same questions and he wanted to know why. And I said, well, those who look like us should reflect all of us. Those who educate us, those who serve and protect us should look like all of us. So if there's 13% of this, there should be 13% of that. Because the interaction is important. And I talked about what you said about how over half of us are in jail and all that. And he said, oh, well, that's just the way they are. Aren't they the ones that commit the most crimes? I thought I was going to pass out. And then I said, could it be that they're the most profiled and the most targeted and most arrested because of the color of their skin? Have you considered that?
Yeah, and absolutely. That's 100% true. The color of your skin doesn't predispose you to being a criminal. And, you know, on the other side of that is that African Americans were, after segregation and during segregation and Jim Crow, they were economically segregated. And that economic segregation lasted, it's still lasting. And that also plays into that as well, because we also know that, you know, economics and people that come from lower income households are more likely to commit crime. But you go back to the 1960s and 70s and after the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and economic and de jure segregation was still taking place with the sole purpose of keeping African Americans in poor communities.
Ooh.
Can I butt in here for a minute, please?
Yeah, you're going to have about 30 seconds because I got to take a break.
Okay, because I have a slightly different perspective, and you and I have talked about this. And this has to do with, in my opinion, more along the lines of not necessarily color, but more of rich or poor, which, like you said, a lot of people of color were kept poor. But you have a huge population of white people, too, who were in that same category, okay? And so I think when you go into a rich neighborhood versus a poor neighborhood, and we've talked about this, I was the minority growing up in my neighborhood, okay? And when I went into that neighborhood, do you think the police didn't profile me and my friends? I mean, I was profiled just as much, but again, it's because it had to do more with poor versus rich, not so much white versus black. And I understand this is my experience, and other people have other experiences. And I guess about 30 seconds is done, and we'll have to come back. Huh?
Yeah, we will. We're going to continue this, but I want to say, poor white people still have white privilege. I'm going to say that poor white people still may not be as valuable as rich white privilege, but poor white people still have white privilege. Let me say this, and then we're going to take a break. If you see a young white boy out at a construction site, you're looking at him and go, he's dreaming. When you see a black boy at a construction site, you think he's trying to steal something. When you see an older white man out at the construction site, you think he owns the joint. And when you see a black man out at a construction site, you think he casing the place. I mean, let's just be real. We do that, we think that, and until we admit that, we're never going to get better. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. Okay, yeah, we'll do it. All right. So what I'm going to do is, how much time do I have? I've got 2 to 3 minutes. I'm going to sum this show up, right? Then we're going to close it out, and then we're going to open up and start a new show. Okay, because there's still some. Okay. Yeah, because I want to talk about the victim card. So, what you shaking your head for, Crystal? It gets you. All right. Jackie, what you want to chime in on? Because I know you do.
It's just the fact that, like Jim said earlier, 65% of those are incarcerated.
Okay, so when I come back from the break, since you worked in the prison system, you want to just chime in on the incarceration rate of African Americans?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That works. And then once you do that, you're going to have a minute and a half to do that. And then I'm going to have to close out the show, and then we'll come back in, and then we'll talk about some other things. And I know, Helen, you biting at the bit. You want to say something?
No, I'm good.
Look, too bad you don't have a cell phone where you can see it. No, I'm just messing with you.
It's fine.
I'm just messing with her. That's my girl right there. Listen, that's one of my new ride and dies. Hey, Crystal, she's your complete opposite in terms of skin color, but she got that bite just like you.
I like her already. She was lit. I'm like,
I mean, if we're going to talk, we're going to talk honestly, and we can only talk about our own perspectives. That's my thing.
That's it. That's and it's one of the things I love about Helen is look, we don't have to agree to still be friends.
We don't.
agree.
What's wrong with that?
Respect the fact that you have a different perspective and opinion.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the incarceration. I've got to give a shout out to my sponsors. All right. You ready? A shout out and a big thank you to Steve Barriere, the FloridaMortgageCenter.com, the FloridaMortgageCenter.com, and TradeCoaches.org. Listen, you looking for that perfect stock market play? Go to TradeCoaches.org. Ready to buy that house? You better go to FloridaMortgageCenter.com and hit Steve up. Get that check in your pocket before you go. And look, you're going to need that money, so you better call Trade Coaches first. All right. So, Jackie, Dr. Wilson, you worked in the prison system. I can't even imagine the challenges it was being a black man, seeing all your people. I'd be up in there every day, let my people go.
Unfortunately, the system's not like that. It's like a giant spider web. Once you get caught in the spider web, it's very hard without it. Unfortunately, not today. There are so many unjust black men locked up. And it's ridiculous. Conspiracy. Law called conspiracy. Conspiracy says, if I think he did something without proof, I can lock you like life. And that's a shame. When they passed the law in 1995, the drug law, crack law, that raised the red flag, black folks, most of the black men in prison for many crimes, 50 to 60 years. For doing one thing, 50 to 60 years. Matter of fact, you got a white guy and a black guy. They both robbed bank. The black guy gets 5 years. The white guy gets 5 years probation. Unjustly. So you have a lot of injustice going on for years. It hasn't just started. It's going on for years. And unfortunately, like I said earlier, get caught in this system is very difficult without.
I tell you, you're right. It is an unjust system. And whether you like Trump or don't like Trump, you got to admit his First Step Act that he signed it's helping. It's reforming federal prisons and sentencing laws in order to reduce a lot of these things that you're talking about. And several people were released from jail. So we've got to take this seriously. We need to decrease our inmate population based on skin color. Let's be real. It's been great. We're going to do another show. This is part 1. There's going to be a part 2. I want to thank you guys. Listen, if you're tuning in this week, you want to tune in next week because we're continuing with the same conversation. Love you, love you. You know what I say? Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow's not promised. What are you going to do today? Today, you're going to have that conversation. You're going to embrace someone that looks differently, that maybe even thinks differently than you do. God bless you and have a great day. Okay. That was a good show. All right, so we're going to go back in and...
So just real quick, though, I want to piggyback on what he was saying.
We can pick up on that on the show.
Okay. Perfect.
That's the great part about back to part 2. So what is it you want to say so I know what question to ask you?
About what he was talking about with, how blacks and whites are incarcerated. Well, in the 1960s under Nixon, up until then, I think it was maybe 1968 or 69, marijuana was a finable offense.
Oh,
we're going to talk about marijuana, Helen, when we come back.
No, we don't need to talk about marijuana. Helen's doing it right now.
Well, it was one of Nixon's senior advisors. He said, let's make it a felony because they wanted to stop the civil rights and anti-war protests. And he said, we can't arrest them for being hippies and we can't arrest them for being black, but we can arrest them for marijuana. And
you're correct.
Yeah. And I mean, you think about that, and that law is still on the books today. Why?
Well, look at it this way. Why is it legal in Florida? But if you're on the medical marijuana,
we're gonna talk about that when we come back.
Job's taken away from you.
Okay, we're gonna talk about that because I really a little bit when we come back into the break. I want to talk about this marijuana thing because, as Dr. Wilson mentioned, we've got all these people in jail and prisons all over our nation for marijuana, but yet there are places now where marijuana is legal. So what we're gonna do? Let them out?
Well,
I mean, what we gonna do about that?
And like he was talking about, I mean, it's, discipline should be reformative. It shouldn't be punitive.
That's true.
That goes back to a money versus, I mean, for the most part, that still goes back to a money versus because if you take, it's a money versus non-money, okay? Realistically, because I guarantee if you take a poor white man versus a rich white man, that poor white man's going to get a much harsher sentence than that man who could afford the money to begin with.
Yep.
So
you're absolutely
that
right.
still goes back to, and that's what I'm saying from my perspective, it's always been more of a richer versus a poor thing. Now, the one thing that me and you were talking about the other day, Geraldine, when we were talking about privilege, and I said I don't know so much about privilege, but I was thinking as far as the interracial dating goes, it's not so, and when we were talking about where if you have a white man with a black woman, his protection exceeds to her, but if you have a white woman with a black man, he doesn't get the same protection to exceed to his woman.
All right, I got to go because these are great conversation, right. But I need to put these on air because this is great stuff, but I got to put it on air. I really do. Okay, all right. So we're going to go back in and we're going to talk about the prisons, and then you can talk about what you want to say, and then we'll go from there. And all my questions are out the window. So I'm making up new ones as we go along. That's what they do. All right, you ready?
You are now tuned in to Today with Pastor Jay on WNZF News Radio, where we discuss inspiring and informative news. And now here's your host, Pastor Geraldine Denny.
Good morning, good morning. For you, it's been a week. For me, it's been a moment. I almost came back in this show as though I was coming back from the break because we are continuing this conversation, this pre-recorded conversation with Jordan Butler, Crystal Wilson, Jackie Wilson, and Helen McWilliams. We're talking about race relations. If you tuned in last week, it it was getting good, and we stopped right there talking about prisons. And Dr. Wilson worked in the prison system, which I can't even imagine having to do. But Jordan, you wanted to chime in on something about that, so we're going to get right in it and let you go.
Absolutely. And first, thanks for having me back on the show. But so what I was going to say is that back until the late 1960s, marijuana was a finable offense. And under Richard Nixon, one of his senior advisors, they wanted to try to put a stop to the civil rights protests as well as the Vietnam War protests. And so they made marijuana a felony offense that you could go to jail for. And one of his senior advisors was quoted as saying that we couldn't arrest them for being hippies and we couldn't arrest them for being black, but now we could arrest them for marijuana.
Well, that just caused an issue and a problem for me, too, when it comes to stereotypes. Because I know I have never smoked a joint. I'm going to say it. I've never, ever, ever had a hit. I don't know anything about marijuana. So all black people aren't druggies. So how is it that I'm going to ask you this, Dr. Wilson, that black people that was smoking back in the day were getting arrested and getting felonies, and white people that was smoking wasn't, or what? What say you? What do you think? You worked in the prison system. I don't know.
Unfortunately, a lot of these drugs is brought into the neighborhood. Believe it or not, crack, cocaine, it is brought into the neighborhood. So therefore, having it, think about this. Black King, not going down South America, bringing drugs back here.
That's what I say.
He's not going anywhere. So he's getting his black from somewhere. It's coming to the neighborhood, and the whole purpose is to destroy the neighborhood. Get them all drunk. I got a purpose to go in there and kill everybody, justify it. So,
Helen, I'm gonna let you chime in because I can hear you like huffing over there for half a second. But I've said this before, and people go, there she go. I mean, I'm from New York. I don't see any gardens. I don't see fields of cocaine. I just don't see it. It's a concrete jungle. Stuff is coming in from somewhere. We don't have a bunch of planes. I mean, let's look it up. I ain't trying to be funny. How many black people got planes and ships and cargo things and to bring stuff in? We are not in charge where illegal drugs come in at. Most of the time, we are not. My sister, she done cracked her eye up. You know I'm telling the truth? It's coming from somewhere. Helen, what you think?
I mean, here we go. Back into, and you got to think about it. You're bringing it from a richer neighborhood into a poor neighborhood. Why? For whatever reason. Why? Because A, if you keep people drunk or high or whatever you want to consider it, then you keep them in a certain space in their head. They never want to do better. They never want to reach out. They're willing to accept the blase-bly as long as they exist and nothing else. Okay? And until we can quit saying this is where the money's at, we should all, I mean, you've talked about this, and the one thing about me, even though I'm a Trump supporter, that people don't like about me that are fellow Trump supporters, is I think the same amount of money that we spend on a child in Beverly Hills in the school system, we need to spend on the same amount of child in where's the poorest neighborhood I don't even want to say Harlem. There's poor neighborhoods down in Miami than Harlem. But you get what I'm saying? We need to start giving people opportunities to better themselves. We need to quit letting the people, and for lack of a better word in this, yes, they are mainly white in this instance.
All right,
quit letting them push. It was the Italians who brought cocaine into the ghetto, honestly. Didn't y'all ever watch, whatchamacallit, New Jack City?
Listen.
That is based on reality. People are like, oh, it's the movies, but that's based on reality. It was the Italians and the mob who brought cocaine into the ghetto. And it went from there. They had to make it cheaper, quicker, more affordable, and that's what they did.
Can I chime in?
Go ahead. You can chime in.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying. I can see exactly what you're talking about as far as when we talk about transport. But we as an African American people, I don't recall seeing any white neighborhoods being bombed. I don't recall seeing any poor white neighborhoods having police come in and not only take the adults, take children. I don't recall seeing poor white children being beat down with a light stick because they like their daddy.
Okay.
There are quite a few historically, when there were black folks who did rise up and Black Wall Street. Quite a few. Even there was one here in Florida, Rosewood. You had quite a few African American communities that rose up and were doing quite well. The problem was our Caucasian people was not happy about that. They came in and decimated those places. So it's not that we don't have to drive. I came up in a poor neighborhood, but I had to drive. Nobody gave me nothing. I was straight.
No, I apologize if you thought I was saying people don't have to drive. That I apologize. That was not what my intention at all was saying. What I was saying is,
Okay.
I add on some clarity from an African American woman's perspective.
Okay, we can go with that.
We go through a more drastic situation than most poor white people.
I mean, but there are.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna let Jordan plug in because this is so important.
I just wanted to say that what you were saying is like the classic definition of what systematic racism is. And that's really what exists in our country that I think a lot of white people turn a blind eye to, is that using the system to hurt the African American community. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So I want to move on because I'm gonna call him out. We're gonna shift gears because we got a lot we want to talk about. This is a conversation we're gonna be having all month. One of my Facebook friends, I'm gonna say it. His name is Don Madden, Madden. Don Madden. Those that are listening, he lives here in Flagler County. I told him if you post some foolish stuff on my Facebook page, I'm gonna tell it and I'm gonna attach your name to it. So he goes on and says things like the real tragedy that by invoking white privilege or supremacy, you're feeding into the narrative that keeps the black community at the bottom of the pile. Blacks are only victims because they allow themselves to be. Here we are shifting the conversation and Crystal is rocking back and forth. She about to start up like, Lord, help me, Jesus. This victim card, this is what Don Madden says, excuses everything. You don't have to work hard to get ahead. You're a victim. You don't need to pay attention in school because you are a victim. I have known and worked with too many smarter than me black executives who never played the victim card, though, yes, they may have suffered some discrimination. You might ask yourself how Korean families coming to America with zero language skills end up owning the small grocery stores in black neighborhoods while their kids are getting scholarships after graduating from the same schools as black kids. Then he puts on there, Don Madden, I'm quoting him, hint, they aren't good at basketball. Who wants to tear him up? I mean, who wants to just comment first? What?
I'll tell you, have Mr. Don Madden on a black suit and go down any street, dominant black, and see what type of treatment he'll get. I dare him to do that.
First of all, you have people from other countries. When they come into this country, they get life. We live here. We don't know life. Secondly, they have families from the other countries that are supporting them here. Any step that we as African American people mostly, and I'm going to say mostly southern states, because northern states, don't have this kind of not too much problem like we do. But most of the black folks in the southern states, we don't have those opportunities. It's not that we don't want them. Is that the moment we walk into a room, we're already judged because of the color of our skin. The option and opportunity.
So there you go, right there playing the victim card, Crystal.
I'm sorry. If this is a victim card, then it is what it is. I'm riding that victim card. Okay? Because at the end of the day, I work hard for money. But I didn't do it by myself. Okay? There were Caucasian sister brothers who encouraged me, who put a word in me, who stepped up to me when other white folks was like, no, because one white person is that. Never mind that I'm better qualified, better educated, paid for my own. Nobody gave me nothing.
All right, I know you want to chime in, Jordan.
Yeah, I would urge Mr. Madden to pick up a history book. Poverty, that whole cycle of poverty is very hard to break because we know that
I found his whole comment racist. I mean, come
it
on,
absolutely is. It absolutely is. And that's why I'm going to explain it. That's why I'm
Black
explaining
people
here.
leave the projects because of basketball.
Let me get to this real quick, but we know that if you have money, you have more opportunities in life, and we know that through education. We have kids here that live in Bunnell that have lived in Flagler County all their lives and have never seen the ocean. And you know, when you have money, you have opportunities, and those increased opportunities and life experiences are what help you to come out of that poverty. Well, go back to the 1800s, and after the 14th and 15th Amendments and 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, and you couldn't keep slaves anymore. And so what happened was these freed African Americans became sharecroppers and tenant farmers. And that system, again, that word system, systematic racism, was designed to keep those African Americans in poverty, and they were always in debt to the landowner. And then what happened is when they died, their debt did not get forgiven. It went to their kids. And so now you have generations of these families that are indebted to landowners, and they cannot move socially up the ladder. And so for generations, those families never had any opportunities to get out of that economic poverty.
All right, well, we got to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. We are still talking about a hot topic. Don't go anywhere. Out of it. Don't be looking at me because I got white skin. I'm not chiming in. You crazy? Make sure you guys share this on your Facebook page. Let me see if it's streaming. I don't know why it's not. Yeah, you did tell me you did an Ancestry.com. I ain't doing no Ancestry.com. They get my DNA. Next thing you know, they find a crime.
They already got your DNA.
Look,
You're in the military. What are you talking about?
Good point.
They already got my DNA,
good
and I
point.
wasn't even in the military. I was just related
Good
to one
point.
of y'all.
Yeah, 'cause you know they want to put my stuff out there talking about she did it.
That's all right. You know, every now and then I just make like inappropriate comments to Alexa just to keep the FBI on their toes.
That's the truth. Speaking of Alexa, because I'm looking for something real quick. I wonder why I'm not streaming. I am not streaming. I'm supposed to be streaming right now.
Maybe
It says live. Can you guys? I mean, when I say I'm not streaming, I'm not even streaming.
See, like it. Even the computers are racist.
You are funny. I mean, it says I'm live streaming, but I'm not live streaming anywhere at all. That's why I'm like, how is it that I don't have any views or anything like that?
Maybe they banned you now. I don't know. You're a Trump supporter. Maybe Facebook and a conservative. Maybe Facebook banned you now.
No, because this is really weird.
I'm just saying. I'm serious. You're talking about religion and race relations, and people they don't want us to talk about this.
All right. This is really weird because, you know, the last time I did a show on Restream to post on Facebook, I mean, it's that they did block it. Facebook took it off. So I'm guessing if they're wondering, this is really weird. Yeah, they took it off. They put it back, but they took it off.
Why would they take it off?
Mark Zuckerberg needs to be paying you.
I mean, this is really, really weird. Let me see if I'm posting on today at all. I wonder if my YouTube, because this automatically posts, is not doing it. All right, we got to go back in. I have to figure out what the problem is later, but that's all right. This video is going to get up there. This is just weird. It just blocked me.
Because they don't want people to talk to each other and have conversation.
I've been noticing.
God forbid. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, none of my stuff is on there. Strange. That's right. I'm gonna try to upload it. All right, we're gonna come back in from the break, and we're gonna mention Don Madden again. Cause see, this is the dial. I'm gonna say he represent that side.
Yeah.
Okay. Ready? Welcome back. You are still listening to Today with Pastor Jay, and I'm not letting up on Don Madden because Don, Madden, who lives here in Flagler County, has so much to say. So we're going to say he represents the side of you, those of you who are cheering him and his racist comments on. Yep, I said it. And guess what? I invited him on this show. He said he has no interest in being on my show, being the poster boy of, I want to get it right because he was really good. He said he don't want to be the poster boy or anything on my show. Not at all. No, he's not coming. at all. He refuses to do it because no one's going to label him as a Klansman. That's what he said. He don't want to be labeled as a Klansman. Buddy, you labeled yourself. Let me say it again. Mr. Don Madden, you labeled yourself. Let me tell you, one of the other Facebook friends that I had, well, he's not even a Facebook friend because my thing is open, said something along the lines about, and I think Don even said it too, I see how you feel about whites. That's what he said. I see how you feel about whites. I'm going to tell you, my daughter, one of my daughters, I have 5 daughters, 2 boys. My daughter called me on the phone. She said, Mom, I want to say something so bad. Whoever said that they see how you see and how you feel about whites, I said, that's okay. They don't know anything. And when I say my daughter, my children are half white. So when they make comments, they see how I feel about whites.
I must not be white then.
Then there must be an issue or a problem. Obviously, I love them really well because I married one and didn't just marry one, had children. Have you ever seen interracial couples? They get married and they refuse to have children. That's a thing.
They don't want the kids to.
Mm-hmm. That's a thing. So I actually had babies. I have white babies, and you'll go, oh, she don't have white babies because she black. Well, why can't they choose their race? So I talk to them about that often, and they just said they're not choosing sides. They're just going to be their own. By the way, please don't ever call biracial children mixed. They don't like that. I found that out. My daughter told me that. They don't like the term mixed.
I did not know that.
I didn't.
You know
I
what's
didn't
funny
either.
though?
Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny? And think about this, because me and you've had this conversation, and the fact that I am from a very multiracial family. Okay, my sister's kids who are half Arabic, we don't call them biracial. Okay, my cousin's kids who are half Hispanic, we don't call them biracial.
What you call
but
them?
Your kids and my child are biracial because they're half black and half white.
So what do you call them? I'm just curious.
I don't know. They're
It's
my
just
cousin's
never
kids.
something
When they're
that's
like, "What are they?"
highlighted.
I'm like,
It's interesting.
they're mixed. Or for my cousin's kids, for my sisters, I say they're half Arabic, half white. What does it matter? They're American.
Right.
You know, my cousin's kids, they're American. So
Yeah.
I find it funny, for me, and again, my experiences, because we've talked about this, you know, is I think that for some reason America per se have more issues with the combination of black and white ethnicity in child than they do per se with a black and Hispanic child, or white and Hispanic child, or black and Oriental child, or white and Oriental child. I think for some reason that particular union pisses off people, I think, more than a lot of other unions. And why?
Because
You know?
people that I talk to who are adamant, they don't think that black and white people should be together. They feel like we are messing up the gene pool, that they're not fully white anymore. But I'm telling you, go get you an ancestry DNA test done. Ain't nobody. I got white in the family. I just met.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And that was my whole point, because my mother says that all the time. If you ever met my mother looks extremely Native American. I look like a Pollock because I look like my father, okay? And we're hodgepodge. Nobody knows. We are so mixed up in America that nobody can say they're truly 100% this or 100% that, because we don't know anymore.
You know,
because we are a nation of so many different ethnicities.
and people do look strange and look different. I gotta say, one of my children came out lighter than most. In fact, it looked like they were a white baby. And I remember being in the store, and these white women were looking at me strange. And I was trying to figure out what in the world was going on. They thought I stole the baby. Seriously, thought I stole the baby. And then when they found out it was my child, thought I was a wet nurse. Well, no, prior to finding them out, it was my child. They thought I was a wet nurse. When they found out I didn't steal it, they figured, oh, she's just a wet nurse. She's just nursing someone else's baby. Like, they do that now. Then I was like, no, it's my baby. They could not believe it. Still in denial. Vincent Lyon, he's an attorney here in Flagler County. He writes this on my Facebook page. The first time I remember experiencing my white privilege was in an antique store. I was talking to the owner. He stopped talking to me in order to follow a black man around who had just come in the store. That's where people don't realize they have white privilege, because you don't necessarily get followed in the store.
Yeah. Yep. I remember when I was in college, I went to Embry-Riddle, and I lived down off of Derbyshire in Daytona, which is a predominantly black community. And I remember the cops down there, I noticed that when they would talk to me and my roommates, they were very cordial, but when they would talk to anybody else in the neighborhood, they always had their hand on their gun.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that was the first time that, like I said, growing up in Ohio, I never experienced anything like that. I think that was really the first time that I ever experienced it with my own eyes.
It's just like that kind of reminded me of Hitler. He wanted blonde hair, he wanted to eradicate all the other races. White supremacists want to say that stay the same concept that they have. So have KKK white sheep anymore. They're cops, lawyers. They're politicians, judges. So when a cop, a white man, first thing he wants to do is kill him. Period. Extinction right now.
I think that's out of fear. It's out of fear. If you don't deal with them, and I say that I'm a black woman, we've got to take a break, but I want to say this. When I moved to Florida, I lived in a small town called Keystone Heights, 0.02% minority. 20 children in the school were black. 4 of them at that time belonged to me. And I lived in this town for 6 months. I didn't see anybody with my skin color. It was just go to the grocery store, I would pump gas, and I would hear people whispering, she doesn't live here. Because I didn't know, had no clue. Went to Jacksonville to ViStar Credit Union, and I saw all these black people in the bank, saw all these black people tellers, and I'm going, I didn't know we were educated enough to hold a position. No, seriously, I'm black. I didn't think that. I'm like, what? I started getting hot standing in line. Cause I'm like, that thing, you around a bunch of black people, you get hot. I was like, what is wrong with you, girl? What? So can you imagine being white, not having any interaction with other races at all? And you go off what they say and what they have on TV. That's crazy. We've got to learn to intermingle. Just talk to each other. We're just people. Doesn't matter the color of your skin. Don't go anywhere. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Today with Pastor Jay. Okay, here you go. We're going to play New Jack City when we come back in. New Jack
that's one of my favorite movies. Right?
Oh, my goodness. Have you seen it? You got to watch it, Jordan.
Oh, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Oh, he has watched it.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I can't say this on the air. I should say this on the air. Okay, go ahead. You can play it.
Here we go.
All right, we've got to get to the chorus of it. Oh, that's the song.
That's one of my favorite groups too, right?
Here. All right, go ahead, I'm back. All right, so we'll come in from the break and then
We just play Guy for the rest of the break. The rest of the show.
No.
Just play him. Play Guy. That's all we need to play. And everybody will get pumped and everybody will be like, we'll be friends, let's go.
You are funny. Hold on.
It's always somebody that's going to be pretty. All she didn't play no country today.
Oh, that's my new song. All right, you ready?
My taste of music runs from country to R&B, so I kind of run the gamut on certain things.
Okay, you ready? We're going in from the break, guys. Welcome back to Today with Pastor Jay. This is not a New Jack City moment. If you haven't seen the movie, you should see it. Oh my goodness, it is hilarious. But it talks about the drugs and the drug trade and in New York. It's kind of funny, but it's a good movie. It really is. Speaking of movies, I want to mention his name and I'm gonna mention it anyway. So Commissioner Joe Mullins, he watched the Django for the first time. And
I've never seen it.
you never seen it? Well, he's never seen
What is
Roots.
that?
He's never seen Roots. So he calls me on the phone. Yeah. He calls me on the phone and he said, I am so mad right now. I can't believe that, this is what he said, and this is true. He said, when you think of slavery, you just think of forced labor. That's all he said. And he said he's around. He said that's all he never thought about the beatings and the this and the that. He said it makes me angry. So maybe we should, this Black History Month, maybe we should kind of look at some different stuff. All right. Oh yeah. So this guy right here, I said, yeah, wait till you watch Roots where he cut the guy foot off because he was running away. So that's his new project. All right, so here we go. This guy named Chris Murphy, he says, how can a white individual talk about it? Because when we do and we don't agree or have a different opinion, we are then called racist or privileged. Huh. That's a valid point.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why these conversations are important.
Yes.
We avoid those conversations because of that. And, because of that fear of conflict, nothing's ever going to get resolved with it.
And he also agrees with the victim card, too. That we
Yes, but then again, here we go, because like me and Crystal, correct? I'm sorry, Miss Wilson. First name was Crystal?
Yep, you good.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. So, like, when I made a comment and, I had to validate the comment that I had made because I didn't mean to say it the way that perhaps she had perceived it, okay? And if people don't talk about this stuff, that's like Jordan said, that's the exact reason why we need to have these conversations, because people can say things that can be misperceived, okay? And
I do it all the time, just so
we
you
need
know.
clarification sometimes. And then when they clarify, you have two choices. You can either accept that clarification or not. For me, I'd rather people, at the end of the day, I'd rather you be more honest with me and tell me that the emperor is naked than to sit here and continue to praise me on my pretty purple robe, because that's not how we become friends. That's not how we learn to trust each other.
All right.
We learn to trust each other by saying, this is where I stand. I may not like where you stand, but I can respect you as a person and being able to stand in that spot.
All right, Crystal, I'm going to let you chime in about 30 seconds. What you got?
Okay. To answer the question, how do we come together? I say, if you say, pray first. But sometimes most conversations don't need some God intervention. So
That is
pray
true.
first. And then come together and automatically upfront say, look, we're going to agree to disagree on something, but I really want to hear you. And then don't talk their content, just listen. And if you got a point you need to make, write it on a piece of paper and bring it up after you dialogue.
That's a good idea. All right, here's this one guy, Chris Murphy. He goes on to say, but continuing to talk about racism and the poor me effect only makes it worse.
Negative.
Yeah, totally disagree.
You see the same person that walk next to you. You see somebody that's homeless on the street. You walk past them to see if they need something.
He said, there will always be sorry excuses for humans. That's true in this world, but I do believe that most humans are not racist. I wish the world was a better place. Well, if we talk about it, we got to be about it. And I think that is so important that we do that. I want to thank you guys. And I also want to thank my sponsors. I'll give them a half a second by thanking Steve Verrier, who has been sponsoring my radio show now for over 2 years. I've got to go back to check to see the FloridaMortgageCenter.com. Thank you for sponsoring Today with Pastor Jay. And thank you for being my one of my very good friends, I could say. He has actually been to my home. How about that? He's been, and he's a white man. He's been in my home. Also, I want to thank tradecoaches.org, tradecoaches.org. If you don't know anything about the stock market, you're trying to figure it out, go to the website. They've got different platforms that you can choose from so you can make that great play and make you some money. I know someone that started using them. They make now in 2 days what they were making in 2 weeks on their regular job. So they're about to come off their job. So it can be done. Listen, I leave that to someone else. I don't know anything about that. All right, guys, this has been great. Jordan, thank you so much. Jordan Butler, thank you. Helen McWilliams, thank you. Crystal Wilson, thank you.
for having me.
Jackie Wilson, thank you. We're going to have to do this again. Those who are watching, we are going to continue this conversation. I think I've got one more week out of this, and then this is going to be a monthly thing, thanks to Jordan. Maybe
Awesome.
we're gonna bring some kids.
We need to bring some kids.
Bring some kids
Absolutely.
in here.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, bring some kids in here and let them start having this conversation. God bless you guys. All right, you know what I say? Yesterday is gone. Tomorrow isn't promised. What are you going to do today? Today, you're going to embrace someone that doesn't look like you and get to know them a little better. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Yeah.
I knocked out 2 shows in one swing, and you guys were awesome. Great conversation.
Have somebody to look up Jane Elliott.
Okay.
Go to YouTube, look at her video, and she talks about race relations. And she's a white woman. Y'all seen her.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Very
Love you guys. I got to find out why this stuff isn't streaming.
Okay.
Talk to you later. All right. Bye-bye.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Thank y'all. It was
Have a
nice
great day.
talking with y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.